everybody. Don't run away, because this is the cool panel of the day. It's Home Smart Home. There's really no place like home. And I'm really excited about the developments in what we at Gartner call the connected home, because I get to do my research hands-on without leaving my house. What a commute is that, huh? By 2020, IoT device shipments into what we call the connected home will reach 2 billion units per year. And this immense acceleration and disruption is due to three things. Basically, the commoditization of sensor technology. Number two, cloud-based services. And number three, internet-driven business models. So for today, what we'd like to do is discuss what defines the connected home. How is this different from legacy electronics that you in the audience, that we here on the panel have had installed in our homes for decades? What is the disruptive nature of connected home devices, or smart home devices, if you want to call it that? For you as entrepreneurs, it's going to be important, how do you make money out of it? How do you monetize that? So that'll be a big part of our 30-minute discussion today. And one big problem I think we have yet to solve is, how do we keep our connected homes secure? Is there a business to be monetized in the security aspects of the connected home? We'll try and do this in 15, 20 minutes. Remember, you all have your apps installed on your mobile devices. Use them to articulate your questions. I have my app here, and we'll take your questions this way. Or if you just prefer to do it the old-fashioned way, I think that'll work as well. So let me introduce our illustrious panel of three members here, which we handpicked out of thousands and thousands of applicants. First of all, we have Naeem Zafar, who's the president and CEO of Telesense. We have Raja Narayanan, who's VP of Smart Homes and Smart Buildings at Panasonic, really exciting. And we have the only person with a pronounceable name here on the stage, who's Greg Roberts, VP of Marketing at iControl Networks. And I'm considering my name to be unpronounceable as well. So let's kick it off. I really liked the presentation. Is Greg Papadopoulos still in the room? He was up here just a second ago. Really great presentation, but you know, he had a picture of a sprinkler head, a home sprinkler system, and he was talking about IoT. Is he nuts? I mean, we've had sprinkler systems for decades and decades, right? I think we need to talk to that gentleman about that. Or what do you guys think? Is a sprinkler system an IoT device? Is it part of the connected home? And if so, what makes it so disruptive? Or what type of sprinkler head causes disruption in the connected home? Who'd like to take that?
Sure. So, you know, it's not about sprinkler. If you go back, is it really on?
It is.
Okay. If you think about all our computers back in the 80s and 90s, what was the deal? Each computer was standalone. I mean, they didn't start talking to each other till much, much later in the late 90s. And then suddenly, a whole bunch of productivity was unleashed and internet was born and all that stuff. Same thing will happen in the home. Just because you have a sprinkler, it doesn't talk to your other appliances. These are all disconnected things. And just like we saw this evolution in the networking, in the computer, in the enterprise, you're going to see exactly the same thing, except at a much faster pace over the next 10 years, even shorter. It'll be amazing. So I think the last slide George had was very compelling, that how it will be self-healing, self-connecting. There's no reason for you to be connecting wires. When my grandma doesn't have to figure out how to enter the Wi-Fi password on the sprinkler, that's when I know things are beginning to happen. So it's coming.
My opinion is that it's about providing more value to the consumer. When you talk about a connected sprinkler system, it's great that you have an app and now you can control your sprinkler system, and it's a new way of interacting with a device or a solution in your home that you that you may have had for years and years and years, a different type of solution. But the reality is that it's providing more value in that it's learning behaviors. It's learning what the weather conditions are outside. It's learning that your ground is actually drying up and that you need more water than what you currently have. And the value there is that A, it's convenience to the consumer, but B, it's water conservation. And when you connect devices like lights and thermostats and sprinkler systems and door locks, you bring a whole new level of intelligence into the home that provides a whole new level of consumer benefit. And that is what's selling point solution devices like a connected door lock, like a video camera and so forth. But the real magic is when all of those devices are connected and working together to provide even more value to the end user. And that's why you're really starting to see mass market adoption of connected home solutions that may or may not incorporate some of these popular connected devices that you see in the marketplace today. And the opportunity for the connected home in that realm is amazing.
Naeem, any comments? Raja, any comments? Sorry.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. Certainly appreciate it. Let me start off by saying what we think it is not. Yeah. So, we don't think IoT in particular or a sprinkler system or anything of that nature has got anything to do with hardware at all, or even technology. Yeah. So it's kind of strange coming from a company such as Panasonic, but what we have discovered is it's really about the opportunity to create interesting, engaging, perhaps addictive experiences, right? So, like the person in the morning said, John from Argus, if you create a fabric here that makes it really interesting and engaging and match it to the person's lifestyle, then all of a sudden you have value creation, somewhat along the lines of what Greg just said. And we think that's where the magic is. So what an interesting sprinkler system means could mean different things to everybody in this room. However, if it's engaging and interesting enough, then there you go.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I think that clarifies the situation greatly. What we at Gartner try to differentiate in our terminology is we define smart systems or smart devices in the home as devices that have some kind of intelligence but are not necessarily connected to the cloud. We define connected devices as devices that benefit from the direct interaction with cloud-based services and up-to-date information such as weather conditions and such as drought legislation, etc., that this particular connected sprinkler system could get from the cloud. And that to us is the aspect of cloud connectivity is to us the great disruptor here in the connected home. So similar question, I know you at Panasonic have a wonderful security surveillance, home surveillance system, right? And again, surveillance systems have been around for a while. Quite expensive to install, right? Monthly service fees associated with it. And so the total cost of ownership is actually quite substantial, right? What's the disruption that's coming up now? This brilliant opportunity to pitch your product.
Well, Panasonic's a pretty large company. We're $70+ billion, right? We do have products which are, the do-it-yourself or do-it-for-me in those categories, and we do have products in home surveillance, home monitoring, cameras, point cameras, equivalent of drop cams, and the whole riffraff of products in the consumer space. However, where we want to go is someplace a little bit different. What we are really after right now is to look at the overall space a little bit holistically and look at it and say, well, look, is there an opportunity here to forget about hardware, forget about all the technology, but look at what kind of experiences and what kind of lifestyles consumer typically engage in, and how can we create interesting and unique software-based different kinds of engagement models such that the consumers can amplify their day-to-day lifestyle experiences using apps, using different kinds of voice response systems, different kinds of learning methodologies. So the place where we really want to go is quite different than where we are today, right? So today, yes, we have plenty of different hardware products, and those all have their standard sales cycle and cost of ownership. But where we really want to go is in a space which is more centered around, okay, if I have a home, something similar to what happens in your automobile, right? You walk into your automobile, all of a sudden you have your seat adjusting to, your preference, your steering wheel going to a certain angle, your climate control is customized. So the whole ambiance in the automobile kind of adjusts itself to your lifestyle and your preferences. That's exactly what we see happening in a home. So as you come 2 miles or you come close enough to your home, the whole ambience automatically sets itself up. That's where we want to go.
Okay, so disruptive forces in the user experience. The user derives incremental additional value out of this. Another aspect in sprinkler systems, for instance, is the green sustainability and environmental effect. So great, wonderful, kumbaya, but what's in it for us? How do we make money on this stuff?
So I think the point to discuss is business model. What can cripple the onset of IoT, whether it's home or beyond home, is going to be business model. Go back to in the internet days. Why is the whole internet business model is advertisement based? The reason is there was no way to collect micropayments. If you could have paid like a penny to read an article from New York Times and 2 cents to read from a blogger, if you had like something like Bitcoin, when you can do microtransaction, whole the internet would have been completely different. But we missed it. We had no such mechanism, still quite don't have it, with Bitcoin maybe. So then we end up stuck with advertising. What is the business model going to be for the IoT? Subscription, paying $20, $30, $40 a month subscription, that works for voice and data, not for IoT. So what is the business model? How will people monetize? Can we create platform so entrepreneurs in this room can build vertical application on top of it? That's going to define the connected home, smart home, IoT, and beyond home. And we should be thinking about that. Forget the sprinklers, forget the ambiance. Yeah, that sounds all great, but if you can't make money on it, there's no ambiance.
Are hardware devices a loss leader? Do you put hardware into the market to make money off of services, to create stickiness, to create other forms of revenue opportunity? Raja, you mentioned earlier on that it's no longer about the hardware, this coming from a hardware guy. Yes. Can you explain that?
Sure. Fundamentally, hardware has become an enabler for other interesting things. That's where it is. It's really, if you look at IoT and you go to an ODM or go to Taiwan or China, you can just see sheafs and sheafs of papers with all kinds of interesting products. You go to Kickstarter and Angel.co, you see tons of interesting little companies doing all these very, very interesting endpoints, and they're all going to compete on a certain economy of scale that makes hardware very uninteresting. It's very uninteresting. So what makes it really interesting is how do you stitch together a portfolio of these endpoints, and then to Nazim's point here, what is the sustainable business model that drives all of this? Now, I quite disagree with him to say that I wouldn't toss out things like advertising and things like services out of the window. I think if you really look at it from the original IoT service providers, the security guys like ADT, they have proved a market exists. If you create a very specific, well-defined value proposition, there is a market that's pretty stable and sustainable. So I think it's going to be, what we see is hardware enables a certain amount of a fabric of stickiness, and then we see a very vibrant marketplace sitting around it that will create all kinds of interesting services or advertising platforms or what have you, pretty much creating a variety of different business models, not just one.
Thanks, Raja. You mentioned a very interesting point, that's stitching together solutions. What I'm not seeing in the IoT space or in the connected home space is vendors who provide turnkey A to Z, everything under one roof solutions. Rather, this has become a platform play. This has become an ecosystem play. And Greg, you're a marketing guy. How do ecosystems fit in here? What is the value of ecosystems? And specifically in the smart home, in the connected home space, which are the ecosystems that are relevant to our audience here? Can you pick winners and losers?
Well, first off, the connected home is actually doing quite well as offered through home security companies, through service providers, that being cable companies and telcos. If you look at the core business model that is generating revenue in the smart home today, it's the ADT Pulses of the world. It's the Comcast, Xfinity Homes, the Intelligent Homes by Time Warner, AT&T Digital Life. Those are generating mass market adoption of the smart home. They're doing it through home security, and because people will pay money for the peace of mind value proposition of home security, and it's a very easy layer of technology and value-added services to put smart home technologies on top of that and sell it as a premium service. But what you're seeing is that being offered at very mass market price points. And you're starting to see some of the subscriber growth there that's showing that truly is where the mass market adoption of the smart home is. With regards to the ecosystem, the successful ecosystems are the ecosystems that are tied to those platform providers. You're probably not familiar with iControl Networks. We're the platform provider to ADT Pulse, to the cable companies, that is the white label service that's really driving all the home automation and the interoperability of home security and home automation. And the reality is that our software platforms manage over 32 million devices worldwide, and we don't manufacture any of them. It's an ecosystem of tier one devices that speak open protocols, talk to our software platforms that are based on open standards. And as a device manufacturer and application developer, if you look where is the opportunity? The opportunity is to build a compelling device that provides consumer value and have somebody else market it for you. And that's exactly what the cable companies do. That's exactly what the home security companies are doing. They're installing solutions. Right now, the smart home is a do-it-for-me market. It is not it's not a do-it-yourself market. And these solutions that are professionally installed in homes are putting in devices from an ecosystem of hundreds of companies that are leveraging the marketing power of these very, very large brands that are installing these solutions and using their products to help power them. That's really where the momentum in the smart home is right now.
See how cleverly this panel is put together, because now we can talk about the controversial and the contrarian view to what Greg was just saying, because we have Raja here who has a $250 DIY product that you buy at Best Buy, you buy on the internet, and you stick the sensors on your door, and you're up and running. We have in the audience here my good friend Gene Wong, who has a very similar and a wonderful product as well that I have in my home, by the way. And similarly, this is a DIY product. Are these guys coming into this space now and disrupting?
It's always on.
Sure. We want to disrupt ourselves before they disrupt us, right? So that's the idea here, obviously. Just to kind of talk a little bit about the point Greg was making earlier on, we do find as a consumer company there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace, right? There's so much of proliferation everywhere. And gosh, there's 15 different platform companies, there's a couple of different ecosystems, nobody plays nice with each other, or they try to say they play nice, but they really don't. So you have all these different interesting nuances in the marketplace. And so where we want to come in is to try and help stitch all that together. And in some cases, the market forces will simply eliminate a couple of the players. And in other cases, we have the opportunity to stitch things together. And I think where we want to go is be that enabling fabric of stitching things together and letting people innovate on that stitch. And that's exactly where I think the pony is for the smart home.
But let me disagree with the panelist here, because it's like expecting Yellow Cab to somehow invent Uber. It's not going to happen. You can't take the ADTs and surveillance camera and expect them to think out of the box. Honeywell did not invent Nest. It has to come from the left field. So I think we are not thinking about smart home or smart IoT in the way it should be thought through. We need to open our mind. Think about the business model. Think about the use cases. Think about the platforms. Home is a very interesting and will be lucrative, but home is going to be extremely competitive. There you'll see Apple and Google and some other companies provide the base platform, and there'll be a lot of vertical application on top of it. Think of that iPhone 2007 App Store. Everything rest is history. That's what's going to happen here. We're just at the very beginning of it. So I want you to rethink and don't fall into, is it going to be evolution? Did you want to respond to that?
I would say that, thank goodness for Silicon Valley, because that's why a lot of these very large companies who want to innovate come to companies like iControl Networks, come to companies in Silicon Valley to help them transition their companies into something that positions them for growth in the decades to come. And that's exactly what is happening in the space.
Go ahead, Raj.
So he says elephants can't dance. He says we'll teach them to dance. And I say we'll dance by ourselves.
So let me switch my position again and now take Greg's position here, because you have these disruptive forces that are coming in that Naeem has been talking about, and we have these platforms that work together or don't work together. What if something doesn't work together? What if something goes wrong? In a clearly defined end-to-end solution like Greg is proposing, you have a 1-800 number to call and they fix it, right? If you have a platform solution that consists of multiple supposedly interoperable players and something goes wrong, who are you going to call?
Well, this is the opportunity. I mean, this is exactly, when you have millions and billions of devices, the way they will scale is they have to be self-healing and self-aware. What's necessary here is the protocols and standards, because they have to be able to communicate, mesh together, notify on their update. That whole thinking, that layer of self-healing is now what the hard stuff is. That's going to define the platforms of the future. We are in the very beginning of some extremely big tsunami heading our way. What's this underlying infrastructure of self-healing, self-aware is what's going to start the tsunami. So it's a very exciting time to be in this market and be starting companies.
Well, and if you look at it from a consumer perspective, what a great scenario that a service provider or home security company provides you when they come in and install an interactive security and home automation solution. That solution may include a Hue lighting system, may include a Nest learning thermostat, may include a Chamberlain garage door opener. All of them connected to one system that works off of one application. And if anything goes wrong with that, they have one place to call. They don't have to call Nest. They don't have to call Chamberlain. They call Comcast. They call Time Warner. They call ADT. And that's one-stop shopping. And that is another reason why consumers are adopting these solutions from service providers and security companies. They know the back-end support mechanism is already there. They have the reputation to be able to fix these things. So they have the infrastructure to be able to fix these things. And people are willing to pay for that. Again, all of those layered on top of something that people pay money for, which is peace of mind, and the peace of mind value proposition of home security is the winning solution in the marketplace.
So I totally disagree. This is like on your app phone, every app I'm going to call Apple? Come on. This is so like, this is the people who used to buy the music system as Sears. All integrated, one place, hey, call Sears. It doesn't work for best of the best. It's about a platform integrating the very best services, the microservices I need, and what you need is different than what you need. That's the whole revolution, guys. You're missing out.
I'm really glad how controversial this is. This is more exciting than the GOP primaries, but much better behaved, may I say that. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, we only have 4 minutes and 47 seconds left, and we have a host of questions from our audience here. So let's try and take some of those. Here's one about privacy and personal autonomy. Are we willing to risk all of these to reap the IoT's potential? What's the trade-off that we're having here? We have comfort, we have security, we have affordability. What level of privacy and confidentiality are we giving up?
I'll go first. I think our view is very similar to what the speaker in the morning suggested, right? I think our studies of the consumer marketplace have suggested that privacy is not as much of an issue as much as security is, and what we have also figured out is the smart home is a pretty wide arena. So some areas security is less important than in others. Clearly, if you're building a security system or you're building a shielding mechanism for your home, it is. Whereas if you're, creating a lifestyle experience around energy management or your pet care, it's not that much of a critical issue. So I think it's going to be a little bit fragmented. It's not going to be one size fits all, and definitely one philosophy fits all services.
Yeah, we've taken privacy as a black and white thing. This is about to change. Privacy in today's thing will be a layered privacy. You have to progressively reveal things to different people based on your connectivity level. So this is all being figured out right now. Our old-fashioned concept is not your father's privacy. Either you're all private or not. It's going to be progressive, layered, based on your social graph. Get used to it.
Here's a very important, very good question, and simple too. Will there be a universal standard in the home smart home? And if so, why not?
Absolutely not. There won't be. There won't be because the diverse use cases of a smart home require different standards, and one standard just does not play. Take a look at the number one use case for a smart home solution across all service provider deployments is video and video monitoring. Video requires a whole set of standards very different than home automation, lighting control and thermostat control and whatnot. The reality is that one protocol will not support everything in the home, and we don't anticipate that changing anytime soon.
I feel like I'm in Twilight Zone. Of course there will be standards. The whole connectivity.
The question was, is there going to be one single standard encompassing everything?
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not.
802.11 worldwide standard. Look at other standards, Bluetooth, the worldwide standard. I mean, we need worldwide standard for proliferation and economics to make sense. Yeah, is there a one single standard? No, not a single thing. No such. Our car doesn't have a one standard, but there are standard things. So things can interface and economics make sense. We are desperately needing for some standards to take hold before the innovation can really start and be global. So there will be standards. There will be even very few standards. I don't know about one standard, but almost a single-digit kind of standards.
Who's going to drive the standardization process? Is it going to be Apple HomeKit? Is it going to be IEEE? Is it going to be Walmart?
It's going to be the entrepreneurs and Angel.co and Kickstarter.
I think it'll be de facto standard by one of the big players. At home, it's going to be Google and Apple, and IEEE will catch up 3 years later.
Final comment, Greg?
No, it's going to be, if you look at what's successful today, it's what consumers are buying and what technology is adopting, the technology players are adopting to accommodate today's demand. That's certainly going to change, and protocols are going to change, and things, and they'll be more predominant and different ways of doing things from a technology perspective. But it just has to provide more value, and it has to provide more value from a technology perspective as well as from an ecosystem perspective.
This is a fascinating evolution. These are fascinating questions, and I have all of the answers in my Gartner research. So go out and read it. I'd like to thank my panel for the very controversial, very enlightening, and very entertaining discussion today. And I'd like to thank you, the audience, for your participation as well. Thank you very much.